Good morning, and we are live. It is time to get busy. It is time to get to work. You ready to get to work? Are you ready to get to work? You ready to get to work? We got a lot to talk about today. We've got serious problems in the United States Navy, and it's not good, folks. We talk about what caused it, the background, everything that's happened, the repercussions that have happened worldwide that the press isn't talking about. This is a big deal. This is a big deal. And we also have an issue. We're going to do a little bit of a different show today. We're going to do a roundtable at the end of the show. We got a very serious subject to talk about. It's heart wrenching. It's difficult. It is a problem that we're dealing with. Ken Paxton getting involved in people's lives to create political theater. Not a good thing, folks. This is not a good thing. So let's get to work. Let's get busy. Let's talk about it. Let's do this. Good morning. Can you believe we made it through another week? I'm telling you, it is just blowing by. It is blowing. We are halfway through August, folks. We are halfway through August. It's almost September. We're almost into the burr months. Those are my favorite time. That's my favorite time of year. It is. I love fall. I love fall to death. I really do. Maya has taken the rest of the afternoon off. She's a union dog. She has a very specific contract. She can only do so much screen time. What can I say? We support labor here. We support labor. Sorry for gulping the coffee there. Oh man, I hope your coffee's as good as mine. Hell, I hope it's better. I really do. I hope you're having a good cup of coffee today. Mine is banging. Mine is hitting the spot. Let's get into it. Let's get to work. Let's talk about it. This just happened today. A couple things we're going to talk about before we get to our main stories. And again, like I said, it is going to be a little bit of a different show today. At the end, we're going to do a considerable roundtable because there's something it's a subject that is very troubling. It is very troubling. And it is something that I don't think that any one person should make a judgment call on. I don't. So we're going to talk about it and we're going to come together on this and we're going to figure out where we stand on it. So stick with us. That'll be near the end of the show. But yeah, Ukraine unleashed hell on Russia. In case you forgot that the Ukraine war is still going on, I'm sure the people of Ukraine haven't forgotten. They are still dealing with the fallout of being invaded by a belligerent neighbor. But yeah, this is a whole new. This war has been going on damn near as long as World War II. It has, and Ukraine has had enough of their shit. They are going to win this by any means necessary. How did we get here? How did we get to a point where this was okay? This was allowed to continue. This was allowed to. I am at a complete and utter loss. We used to be a country that whether you liked it or not, we have an international audience, whether you liked it or not, we were a country that provided leadership. And part of that leadership was saying, hey, we're not going to have the instability of neighbors just invading neighbors. We're not going to have war break out in Europe. We're going to nip this in the bud. We're going to stop this. I know when Republicans seized power, we ceased to lead. We ceased to lead. I just, again, it's gobsmacking to me that people cannot sit and just understand the repercussions of something, the long-term repercussions of something like this, allowing this to go on, allowing this to continue. It is insanity. It is just pure insanity. Yet we're seeing more incompetence and more just everywhere. And forgive the marks. They call them alligators for a reason. And no, I'm not allowing her to bite me. I'm not allowed. This is what it looks like when you stop a alligator from biting you. They call them alligators for a reason. But please forgive the marks on the arm. But the level of incompetence this is going on right now. And I got to tell you, I'm a little bit gobsmacked. I'm a little bit at a loss for words that we're really here. That we're really here. That this is really what's going on. It's just things like this happen. This is nature. This is Mother Nature kicking us in the ass. It happens. It does. It happens. But what doesn't happen is the complete and utter lack of response. I mean, what is the point of being a society? Yes, Hurricane Lala it has swept across Hawaii. We know of at least one fatality. We know there's a considerable amount of damage. We know that there are 60,000 people without power right now. As you and I are watching, there are 60,000 Hawaiians that do not have power right now. Communications are down. It's a disaster. What is the point of us being a country or a society if we're not dealing with that? I mean, what are we even doing? We're allowing, invasions to happen, wars to spread. Come on. What are we even doing? And it all falls on Republicans. It all falls on Republicans. They do not govern. They do not accept the responsibility. They do not even acknowledge that government exists for a reason. To them, government is just bad because you're going to get somebody to tell them they can't be criminal. It's just going to happen. It's just what they are. This is what we get for ever allowing Republicans to hold power. That party should not exist. I mean, look at what's going on in the Midwest. And I hate to tell you, folks from our Midwest audience, this is not over. This is not over. There's a whole nother line of storms tearing across the Midwest right now, about to contribute to all of this flooding, all of this damage. Indiana, the flooding and damage is far spread, but Indiana is really, really facing some serious problems, folks. They are, and they're about to get hit again in the next couple of days. I mean, where's the media? I mean, am I the only one that's not seeing anything out of the media? I mean, they're more than happy to report the storms and the disasters, the damage. But you remember when Democrats ran the country? What the media reported on? Oh, look, there's a leader standing there with FEMA, with the government's response. And this is what the government's response is. Oh, let us give you information about how the government is responding and what you can do. And you remember when that used to be the news? There's nothing in the news about government response to any of this. And that's what government is for. Government, FEMA, if Democrats had been running things, you would have had reports before the storms hit, before the hurricanes hit. There would have been on your nightly news, hey, let's talk to this regional director of FEMA who's in place in Hawaii with assets on. Oh, look, he's telling, oh, yeah, we've got water, we've got generators, do you remember those news stories? Can you even remember what it was like to have government? And the media is just gone. They're just gone. They are just gone. And this statement right here from Susan Hilliard, Hawaii is blue, Trump will ignore it. You know that's true. You know that's true. You remember when Democrats got elected, and they said they would give the speech that they give all the time. Every Democrat gets elected gives the same speech. I know we have had differences. I know we disagreed. I know we continue to disagree. But I assure you, I will be the president for all Americans. Where the fuck did that go? Oh, yeah, Republicans. Republicans don't believe that. Republicans don't represent all Americans. Republicans represent white bigots. That's it. That's all. That's all. That's what this government is all about. Or lack of government is all about. And I got to tell you, it is not just FEMA and the responses. They have absolutely destroyed our military. I took so much shit when I was sounding the alarm bells, when I was screaming as loud as I could. When they put Anthony Tata in as as Assistant Secretary of Defense, I said, lights on, people, pay attention to what's going on with our military leadership. They're going to remove our leadership. They are going, this is an installation of Trump loyalists. And I took so much shit. Oh, you're fear mongering. No. And that's exactly what happened. We have our military committing war crimes and bragging about it on the news. Bragging about it. Those boat attacks. You remember the drug boats? Some of them turned out to be fishing boats, and some of them turned out to be fuel boats where they would sell gasoline. And yeah, they weren't all drug boats, if any of them were, because we never got any evidence. But we did have video evidence of them absolutely committing war crimes and bragging about it. And the media was on the rah-rah train. Oh, look at us. We're tough. We're tough. We can blow shit up. Look, woo, rockets, red glare, bombs bursting in water. Can you remember when we had leadership? Can you remember when we had a fourth estate, when we had a media? You remember how they act when Democrats run things. They want every granular detail. And then after you give them every granular detail, they still say, well, Republicans said this bad thing. You better address that. Here, microphone. It leads to this. We must have a working fourth estate. And as much as I am proud to be doing what I'm doing, I'm proud to be the founder of the Ride or Die Democrats. I am proud to be doing this. I am incredibly grateful that you allow me to do this. It is going to take more than old Hillbilly Paul sitting in the woods in East Texas telling you about things that are going on. Because, look, we've got 2,300 people in here right now. Hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button. Let's get as many people as possible in here, because we've got to reach way more than this. Because, folks, we're seeing a complete and utter systemic breakdown in one of the most expensive, in the most expensive military to ever exist. It's not just the Abraham Lincoln. The reporting is coming out. This is the USS Tripoli. This is the USS Tripoli. Same condition. This is technically an amphibious assault ship. What it is it's a light carrier. Doesn't have a catapult. You see the F-35s there. Those are the F-35B variants. They can, they're the vertical takeoff. What this is it's an enhanced carrier. It has greater troop carrying capacity. It serves a different mission than say a super carrier does. It carries a complement of about 1,600 Marines on it. This is the up close and personal kicking ass contest grand champion right here, the USS Tripoli. It doesn't get the attention because it's not as big as some of the super carriers. It's not as it is fancy, and we didn't spend as much on it, but it is absolutely hands down. When it gets up close and personal, when the kicking ass contest gets to be where you can see the enemy's eyeballs, this is the boat you want in the water. This is the boat that you want there fighting. And it was deployed along with the USS Abraham Lincoln, and it is facing the exact same systemic logistical breakdowns that the Abraham Lincoln has been facing. And no, you have not heard about it because the media chose not to print it. After the story broke on social media, and parents who had been complaining to the media fell on deaf ears and started working with great 100%. This is why I love Midas Touch. I will always love Midas Touch. You guys know that I was a Midas Touch contributor. It is not that. When they broke the story that this was fleet-wide, this is not just the Abraham Lincoln, and started printing these parents' stories that they were getting. There's a sailor on the Tripoli that has lost 30 pounds. He stopped another sailor from committing suicide. This was not hidden information. This was information the media had. But it took Midas Touch. It took people like us. It took people like Aaron Parnez. It took us here doing what we're doing right now to get the actual media to start paying attention to this story. And now that it's broken open, it is bad. It is bad. This is the U.S. George W. Bush. The George Herbert Walker Bush. Not the W. Bush, the H.W. Bush. It is a supercarrier. It is one of our largest. Also, having huge systemic logistical breakdowns. They have no soap. They are rationing water. They are rationing food. Every single boat that has participated, and we like to focus on the carriers. Those are the big show. But it's every single boat that has participated in Operation Epic Failure is having the same exact logistical breakdown. Do you know how many ships that is? Folks, there are dozens of ships in a single carrier group. And they are all facing the same exact, complete logistical breakdown. Let's talk about why. It stems from this. You remember in a previous story that we talked about the damage in Bahrain, the damage to our base. And we talked about the fact that we had to get pictures from social media that sailors had shared, that contractors had shared, that our military was covering up the damage. Well, they had to acknowledge there was damage. Now you'll see here, it says Navy carriers' problems are tied to attacks on U.S. base early in the war. Diego Garcia, a tiny island 2,200 miles from the Gulf of Oman, took over as the Navy's logistic hub after Iran damaged Bahrain. Now, you remember the denials from Pete Hegseth about, oh no, our bases are great. They're operating 100%. We're good. Okay, well, let's go to the map. Well, before we do, I just want you to see this. Let's just put this to bed. What I'm going to talk to you about today is just facts that have happened. Our government is lying to us about how this war is going. They are flat out lying to us about the amount of damage we've taken, the amount of casualties we have taken. You remember the pictures I showed you from Bahrain. It was a warehouse that had some damage and a bar that had some damage. And yeah, it was way, way more damage than that. Way, way more damage than that. Our naval base in Bahrain was devastated. So much so that we had to abandon it as a logistical hub for multiple reasons. One, the amount of damage that was done there. And two, its location. Let's go to the map. This is the tiny nation of Bahrain. This is the headquarters for our fleet, and that port where the headquarters of our fleet is located in this part of the world. What's the problem with that? What is the logistical problem with that? Well, it's located right here. This is the Persian Gulf. What's the problem with it being in the Persian Gulf? To get to it, you have to go through the Strait of Hormuz. Normally not a problem unless you're at war with Iran. Then suddenly Bahrain becomes a really stupid idea for where to have your logistical hub located. Remember, folks, now look, I want to pause for a second. I want to pause for a second. I'm going to leave this up so you can soak it in. I want to pause for a second. If you had to throw a name out there for America's greatest military leaders, who would you choose? We're gonna start roundtabling things, folks. This is an interactive show. If you're watching this on replay, I'm sorry you're missing this. Be here for the lives. I want to hear. First one that came up was my first choice, also. Patton. Grant, also another good one. Nimitz, also another good one. Eisenhower, Eisenhower was he was good at administration. Field general, not so much. But administration, brilliant. Colin Powell, absolutely did an amazing job. What do all of these generals have in common? Patton, MacArthur, Pershing, all three things, all of them. What do they have in common? I'll come back to the map here in just a second. What do those leaders all have in common? And I promise you're not going to guess it. Oh, you might. Y'all are badass, man. Y'all are badass. Kind of, sort of, yeah, advisors, kind of, sort of. They surrounded themselves. Every one of those leaders knew their strength. They knew what they were really good at. They also were keenly aware at what they weren't good at. There's a story that's told about Patton, and I'm going to talk about Patton because he's my number one choice. When you say name a brilliant leader, military leader, I go with Patton because Patton understood something. Patton understood very much that a general involved theater, that your men were going to look to you. And it was more than just having good strategic planning. It was what, Montgomery knew this also. There is political theater involved. Patton portrayed himself as a badass. We did that. People have mentioned Norman Schwarzkopf a few times. Storm and Norman. That's the theater. That's part of warfare. Patton knew this clearly. Clearly, he understood this. On top of the fact that he was also tactically brilliant. Had balls like church bells. He was not afraid to lose. And that's going to be shocking to some people. They're like, oh, Patton wanted to win all the time. He did want to win all the time. But he knew that in a fight, the guy that just, fuck it, we're all in, man. The guy that's willing to throw it all out there is likely going to be the one that wins the kicking ass contest. He knew that very clearly. But the one thing that never gets talked about when you hear about Patton is that he also knew what he wasn't good at. And what he wasn't good at, now he understood the value of it, but he was not particularly good at the mundane logistics. See, that's where Eisenhower, people mentioned Eisenhower. He was really good. Kane is a fucking moron. Patton knew, that was minutia. There was a really famous story they tell about Patton where he's given a briefing the day before a battle, and one of the cartographers, who's a corporal, is in the room, and Patton is laying out this plan, and the cartographer has spotted That's an old map. I have the updated map. I've seen the changes. That's an old map. That road is not there anymore. And he sat there quietly and quietly and quietly and quietly. And he saw a colonel that had also seen the upgraded map, didn't say a word. He noticed it. He put his finger on it. He looked at it during the briefing, and then he didn't say anything. And finally, a corporal raised his hand and interrupted George Patton. And they said, you could have heard a pin drop. They said there were more people with more brass on their shoulders staring at the ground, waiting for this corporal's life to end. And Patton listened to him. And he told him, that's incorrect, sir. That road is no longer there. It's 1/4 mile, it's 1/2 mile up the road. What that corporal did was he stopped the confusion in the dead of night of armored columns, supply columns, everybody showing up with maps in their hands to turn onto a road that does not exist, delaying them hours. And remember, this is a time when you had nothing but radio communication. He probably saved thousands of lives. Patton looked at it. He got the confirmation that he was correct, and he went on with his briefing, correcting it. The next day, a stripe showed up. He was no longer a corporal. He was a sergeant. Because Patton understood you cannot be surrounded by yes men. You can't. And you've got to have talented people that know how to do their jobs. And one of the most important people of World War II that you've never heard of is a general by the name of Walter Muller. He was Patton's secret weapon. This is why I'm talking about Patton. He was Patton's secret weapon. Patton did not manage. He was Colonel Walter Muller at the time. He did not manage Walter Muller. He informed him, I'm going to do this. Walter Muller was the only officer in Patton's entire command that could tell Patton, no, you're not. When Patton said, I'm going to do this, everybody else in that command stood at attention and said, okay, this is how we're going to do it. Famously, General Lucian Truscott once pushed back on Patton and said, my men need a break. I can't do this. Lucian Truscott was just a brilliant general. And Patton told him, you go have a fucking drink and you come back when you're ready to do what I tell you to do, because we're doing this tomorrow morning. Colonel Walter Muller was the only person in Patton's command that could, not even Omar Bradley. No, Omar Bradley was brilliant, but Omar Bradley could not tell Patton no. Muller could tell Patton no. Because Patton had, when he put Colonel Muller in place, Muller handled all of Patton's logistics. Fuel, ammunition. Patton would not go into a fight without fuel, without ammunition, without material, without food. And he didn't worry about it. Because during the briefing, Muller would be there. And Patton would say, I want to do this. And Muller was the only person in the room that could say, nope. Next week. Give me next week. Famously, in the Battle of Bastogne, famous battle, Patton showed up, and it's portrayed quasi-accurately in the movie about Patton. Shows up, exhausted, fuel spent, everything's, just been battling his way through the Battle of the Bulge. There are men trapped in Bastogne. Patton says, I will go. And everybody in the room said, you can't. You can't. Patton turned to Mueller. Mueller nodded his head. He said, I will go. That's all he needed to know. Because he knew how important logistics were. And he knew how important it was to have men in place you could trust, that were competent, that logistics were everything. He didn't listen to any general with any tactical or strategic chops or anything like that. There were great men in that room. He turned to Mueller. And Mueller said, yep. And they went. That's how important logistics is. All the great leaders in history and the leaders that failed. Look at Napoleon and his disastrous march into Russia. Failure of logistics. Where I'm going with this, folks, and I know I've gone on a rant. I've gone on a rant. It goes to what has happened in Iran. It goes to the fact that they have replaced our leaders, our great men. We had great men leading our military that have been systemically replaced because they would not be yes men, because they would tell people the hard truths. When that idiot moron president of ours decided to attack Iran, all that was left were yes men. Dan Cain is a yes man. Pete Hegseth said, it'd look great on Fox News if we had some video of us committing war crimes. And Dan Cain said, yes, sir, let me make that happen. Well, we got into a war. And we had no General Muellers. We were relying on a base in Bahrain to be our logistical hub for a war in this region. Folks, just take a look at it. You don't have to be a general. You don't have to be a graduate from West Point to look at this map and realize that's a fucking problem. No, we can't do this. Benjamin Netanyahu told Trump, oh, you'll be a hero. You'll be a hero. Nobody else had the balls to do it. You got the balls. Trump's in trouble. Remember what was going on? All the Ghislaine Maxwell stuff and everything that was going on? All the bad press, all the bad, we're going to have, Venezuela had blown up in his face. Pete Hegseth is a fool. He's an idiot. So what did they do? What did they do? Well, Iran understood the logistics. They blew the shit out of our base in Bahrain. And we can't get our ships to it anyways, because we don't want to put our $1 billion aircraft carriers into the Strait of Hormuz, which means we're having to fly everything back and forth from our base in Bahrain. No pulling up to the dock and, having things done efficiently. Piss poor planning. Piss poor preparation. An idiot president making a demand that no one in the room had the balls to tell him we could not do. Not just we should not do. There are plenty of arguments about the morality of what we did. I'm talking could not do. Now wait for it. This is Diego Garcia. Let me show you Diego Garcia. This is Diego Garcia, this tiny little atoll right here. Let me back out. You notice it's British Indian Ocean territory. It's in the Indian Ocean. This is where it's located, way the hell out here. 2,200 nautical miles from our theater of operation. This red dot, this is Iran. This is where our fleet is operating. Again, not something that was available to us when we got into this war. Everybody got it. I would like to close this map. Everybody got a good idea the distance we're talking about here, Diego Garcia? Now I want to take you back. When this war started, the British, the French, everyone said no. Our idiot president was the only person that psychopath Benjamin Netanyahu could talk into doing this. They did not build a coalition because Trump wanted to do it now because Trump's a moron. Well, we hit him before. It'll just be quick and easy. We'll be in and out. There was nobody in that room to say, no, there's no guarantee that's going to happen. And if it goes wrong, it turns out to be a fight, we are logistically unprepared for this. We are exposed. Our bases in the Middle East are exposed. Our mission in Syria to stabilize Syria will be compromised. There was no one in the room left. I warned him. I warned you. I warned the American people. This is happening. They're replacing our leadership with yes men, with Anthony Tatas. Anthony Tatas like Mike Flynn. Sick, corrupt, partisan, doesn't represent the American people or America. He represents the Republicans. He has no business being in our military. He has no business being in our Department of Defense. But Trump loves him because he'll do whatever Trump wants, even stupid shit like this. Now let's get to the part about we didn't build a coalition. No one wanted to do this. No one could afford another war. Everyone else had leadership that would stand up and say, don't do this. One, it's just Benjamin Netanyahu trying to steal land, and we're not going to do that for Israel. And two, it's dumb. We're not going to commit ourselves to this. We're not going to do it. This is how it started. This is Keir Starmer addressing Parliament when this first started.
My position on the Iran war has been clear from the start. We're not going to get dragged into this war. It is not our war. And a lot of pressure has been applied to me to take a different course. And that pressure included what happened last night. I'm not going to change my mind. I'm not going to yield. It is not in our national interest to join this war, and we will not do so. I know where I stand.
You remember Trump had an absolute meltdown when that happened. When Keir Starmer was saying that, Iran was destroying Bahrain. Iran was destroying our base in Bahrain. Trump was threatening the UK, because the reality of our situation had come to light. They knew then And I want you to look at the dates on these. This is March 2026. Trump is having an absolute fit because the media is not telling you what's happening there. Did you know back in March that we were logistically crippled in the region? No, no. Did the media know? Yes. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Did they report it? No, they did not. No, they did not. All they reported was, ooh, Trump's tough. Trump got Keir Starmer to do what he wanted because Trump's tough. No, that's not what happened. Keir Starmer was briefed on the nightmare that this had just become. Keir Starmer was briefed on how badly our bases were crippled. And he reluctantly complied to allow us to use Diego Garcia as a logistical hub because it's all we had. It cost him. It cost him. Is it why this happened? No, no. It is not the whole reason that Keir Starmer lost his job. It isn't. There was a series of scandals, but I would argue that he could have survived them. But that capitulation to Trump, remember, that was March when they made the decision to capitulate because we were logistically screwed. We were facing loss in this battle. We were going to lose this war, not just tap out. We were going to lose. And the UK understood what that meant geopolitically. So they did the hard thing. They capitulated. They allowed us to use Diego Garcia, despite being wildly unpopular 1 month before their election. Imagine something like that happening to us in October and how that would affect the elections in November. Like I said, I believe Keir Starmer would have weathered this. The scandals, he would have weathered it because he himself did nothing. It was Mendelsohn and things like that. But this happened. This happened. And look at the date. May 8th. Support for the war in Iran was wild. It was almost 80%. Opposition, pardon me, to the war in Iran was it was almost 80% opposition in the UK. In just weeks before the election, Keir Starmer had to do exactly what his people did not want him to do. And they got soaked in those elections. They got destroyed in those elections. And that, my friends, is why Keir Starmer ended up falling on his sword. Did our media talk about any of this? No. 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 Not at all. Has any of our establishment media ever shown you that timeline? No. Did they know? Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They're keenly aware. They are keenly aware. Have you heard them tell any American? And this is, I want our international audience to understand this, that this audience is engaged. This audience pays attention. And none of them were ever told that this was happening. Our government is covering up how badly we're doing in this war. Our media is working with them to do it. There was no planning, no preparation, no building of coalitions, no preparation at all. And our sailors and soldiers are paying the price. Complete and utter failure of leadership. Pete Hegseth should not just resign in disgrace, he should be prosecuted for this. Soldiers are dying. Sailors are dying for failure to be prepared. It is not just, you've heard the stories, we're running out of munitions. It was their job to work with Congress before this happened and explain, okay, worst case scenario, we'll run through our arsenals and we will need more. No, because every Republican was saying, nope, no War Powers Act, no, you can't stick this to me. They should resign. Dan Kane should resign. They should be prosecuted for this. Trump should be impeached for this. But the media won't tell you. They won't tell you. They won't tell you. Because they're all in on the theater. They're all in on the theater. All of them. All of them. Let me catch up. I'm way behind on the comments. Our next segment is going to be, well, before we do that, let me just one more thing, and then I'll go to the comments, because our next segment is going to be pure roundtable. I'm going to give you some background information on something that's just happened that involves Ken Paxton. But it is an overarching Republican scandal and failure. And it is a very personal situation for some people. It's a real tragedy. It is, actually. But I want it to be a roundtable. I want to hear what you have to say on this. I will brief you, like I said, of this. These are the facts. And then I want to hear from you where we go from here. But before we get to that, this guy's been identified. Y'all remember we talked about it in the last show, the ICE agent that was pointing his weapon at the head of Carolina Molina. But she called him out because she had dash cam. He lied, said that she was trying to run them over, weaponizing her vehicle. That same lie that ICE uses every time. Weaponize your vehicle. The same lie they use every time. He immediately started spouting that shit like he was, trained to do it. It's this little fucking munchkin right here. 5'3", 130 pounds soaking wet. And he has a history. He has a history. This was not his first meltdown, his first problem with the public. He has problems. He has problems. We're going to talk more about it because right now the media is being forced to deal with this because it's coming out all over social media, and well, they're losing money that way. So they're going to try to get ahead of this. They'll do a deep dive on it. They'll finally put some resources into it. But we'll talk about that again on Wednesday. Let's catch up on the comments. Rich Slaughton, thank you for being so generous, Rich, and thank you for always being here, brother. Josie Yarrington, welcome, welcome. Michigan in the house. Good to see you. Glad to see the new members. Wester the Nail, 5-month membership. Glad to see you. Glad to see you. 7-month membership. Carl Coiner, thank you. Thank you. We're going to stop this mess no matter what. Amen. Amen. Skeet Sayre, you know what is insane? Of all the armed services, the Navy are the best fed. Yeah, that's how bad. That's when I tell you this is a fleet-wide systemic logistical failure. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Lena Marley, love Maya's cowboy hat. Mike Daly, the Dim. Morning, brother. Your house is like mine. Bill Murray described it. Dogs and cats living together. Mass hysteria. Mass hysteria is fantastic. I hear you, man. Due West Bill. Mrs. Texas Paul, lay down the law. Maya's not supposed to be in my office. There's carpet in this room. Her original rule was no rooms with carpet. She is not allowed in any of the rooms with carpet. That changed, obviously, immediately. But then it got to, she's not allowed in our bedroom, period. And she's not allowed on the furniture. And I walk in yesterday, Maya's dead asleep in the middle of our bed. Them rules are melting fast, man. They are melting fast. New West Bill, thank you, brother. Thank you. Thank you for the support. Lenore Banks, sounds like U.S. military is full-blown FUBAR along with the Supreme Court, yada, yada, yada. Yeah. Yeah, this is a problem. This is a real problem, folks. Skeet Sayre, every night Russia sends hundreds of drones and missiles at cities in Ukraine. Any payback done to their infra is justified. Slava Ukraini. Yep. ET, amateurs study tactics. Pros study logistics. Yep. Veggie Algro, alligator marks. I have scars on my arms from a happy puppy. Their nails are sharp. I'm proud to have them. Yeah, and don't send me the emails telling me about how I'm not supposed to allow her to. I don't. These are me not allowing her to bite me. This is me not allowing her to bite me. Imagine what it'd be like if I actually allowed it. Donna DeJoya, good to see you. Hate to say it, but not only do we allow stuff like Ukraine, Nigeria, etc., but we are executing unjust wars ourselves. Vote blue, vote blue. Amen. Amen. Skeet Sayre, do you want the truth? Water vapor is way more dangerous than ocean levels. It is easier for the sun to heat. It is so bad we have affected the spin of our very planet. Last week, the moon was clear in the sky at 11 a.m. Millennial David, hey, what's your historical take on Obama's Russia sanctions? Also, what do you do about FEMA after we take power? I'm feeling unfriendly towards dumbass Keir County and ungrateful red states. Here's the thing. You've got to govern. You do. You know, it's like, okay, Keir County, great. There are idiots there in Kirk County. There are MAGA voter idiots in Kirk County. There are MAGA voter idiots in Texas. But there are 32 million people in Texas. There are millions of us that turned out and voted the right way. Then there are millions of us that didn't bother to vote, that aren't MAGA, that are going to show up this election, I assure you. We have to govern. I mean, we're either a people in a country or we're not. And yeah, the people of Indiana, sure, it's a red state. But there are times you just have to put politics down and do the right thing. I mean, that's what we are. I mean, it's what we are. That's why you see those briefings when Democrats hold power, because we actually respond to this stuff. We actually govern. So yeah, we're going to go back to that. We are. I hear you. I feel you. I ain't happy about it either. I'm really sick and tired of us taking care of everybody, and they raise the middle finger at us because to them, we're not even Americans. Fuck those people. I mean, I understand that sentiment. I really do. Connie Leiden, the stupidity is just beyond any comprehension. Mm-hmm. I hear you. Laura Kilby, welcome. Glad to see you. Glad to see you. Skeet said the toilet on the Lincolns were sabotaged in May. These people deserve nothing but jail cells. Wendy Bauman, Hegseth has tuned into a video game and Cletus loves it. It's disgusting. Jeremy Breeden, thanks for supporting the show. Thank you. Kathy Young, in World War II, my dad lived on powdered eggs and milk, dried fruit, and jerky. Dave Barone, Ghislaine Maxwell, being treated better than our service members tell us everything you need to know about what's going on now. Yeah. Amen. Ollie, no feminine products on the USS Boxer and steam catapults Trump wants to go back to. Yeah, steam catapults. That's what that latest talking point from that idiot is. He wants to retrofit all of our carriers back with steam catapults, technology from the 1920s. It was 1920s when steam catapults were developed. Back when they were run off of steam engines, when they burned coal. Yeah, that makes sense. Sharon Butler, thank you for gifting the memberships. Thank you. Skeet Sayre, do you realize how obtuse this calculus is? China now has no reason not to invade Taiwan because of U.S. incompetence. Yeah, you're not wrong. Aging Canada, thank you for bringing our attention to this. You're welcome. You're welcome. That's my job. That's what when I say, hey, thank you for allowing me to do this. This is what you're allowing me to do. Mick Bastage, a good leader, masters tactics, a masterful leader, masters logistics. Amen, brother. Ulysses S. Grant is the best general U.S. ever had. You could really make that argument. And again, he understood logistics. He understood to have officers underneath him that absolutely understand logistics. George, I have studied that is such a fun part of history, studying those battles and how they're won and lost. That's why I get so angry that there are historians out there that refer to Robert E. Lee as a brilliant general. He was a fucking moron, and anybody that has ever stood on the battlefield at Gettysburg understands it, much less anybody who's a historian that has studied all the battles of that era. He was a moron. Lee's front line was 6 miles long at a time when you carried cannonballs on horses and wagons. His train depot was miles away. Meade had his men situated on the top of a hill. He had the high ground. His men were situated in a fishhook pattern. From this end to this end of his line was 600 yards, 6 football fields. That was it. His train depot was right behind his lines. That is leadership. That is tactical brilliance. But you never hear about Meade. Bullshit. Robert E. Lee was a fucking moron. And it's about time somebody started burning these history books and rewriting them. I love history, folks. I really do. This is a topic that makes me extremely angry. If you follow, going back to Skeets, your comment about Ulysses S. Grant, his victories are rail depot to river. He would take, control of, rivers so that you could not ship cargo, and he could ship cargo. That's brilliance, not the idiocy we saw. I don't give a damn if Beauregard had a big plume feather on his fucking hat. They lost because they were idiots. There was one decent general in the entire Southern Army, and that was Longstreet. And the Daughters of the Confederacy did everything they could to try to erase him from history. Because Longstreet, more often than not, in many of these defeats, said, "This is stupid. Why are we doing this? This is dumb." And Lee would tell him, "You're a great leader. Do what you're supposed to do. Lead your men and do what I tell you." And Longstreet would say, "Okay, you're the boss." Don't get me. I'm sorry to go off on that tangent, but history's my thing. And just this kind of stuff pisses me off to no end. George, D575. Thank you, Texas Paul, for covering this story. I served for 3 years on the USS Midway and never experienced shortages, even during the evacuation of Saigon. Yep. It didn't used to be this way, did it, George? Didn't used to be this way. Because yes, flag officers, it's political. It is. It's political. And I don't mean like party politics. I mean military politics. But they tended to be gifted people. They tended to be real leaders. And if you were a shit leader, you tended to be pigeonholed. Matt Plaskin, General Oliver P. Smith, USMC, kept his Marines alive in Korea. My dad was one of them. We've had some great leaders. We have. New West Bill, everything the orange slice touches turns to shit. He is definitely used to the smell. Yep. Forgive me. I've got some allergies going on. I got to rub my nose. My allergies are killing me. Cassie Lake, Orange Julius wants a win for a distraction and believes he can obtain the same with economic warfare on Canada. Our dignity as a nation, Carney can't cave. Rag the puck. Yep. I hear you, my Canadian brothers and sisters. I did a video thanking y'all the other day. I'm going to thank you again. This war caused a severe shortage of urea. Urea is in a critical fertilizer. We talked about fertilizer shortages before. Our Canadian brothers and sisters have stepped up. They are selling potash so cheaply. And no, it has nothing to do with the tariffs were repealed. They weren't repealed. There was never a tariff on potash, just like there was never a tariff on oil. There were certain things that were exempted. Potash was one of them because it's so important for our food production. The Canadians are selling us potash so cheaply that it's offsetting much of the cost, the elevated costs of the urea. It's allowing farmers to continue to fertilize and produce. That's our Canadian brothers and sisters. That's our Canadian brothers and sisters who have every reason to want to slap us in the face are being our brothers and sisters. That's the reality of what's happening. Mark Carney and our Canadian brothers and sisters are literally saving our ass right now. Now, is it gonna take care of? No, food prices are going to continue to rise because urea makes up about 35% of DEF fluid. And if you don't drive a modern diesel, you don't know what DEF fluid is. DEF is what was the answer. It's just stupidest thing. This is why I tell you, we've got to get better at repealing dumb ideas. Stick with me. I promise you I'll get back to it. We put ridiculous regulations on diesels. Diesels were not the reason we were having global warming. The particulates that come out of diesel engines are so heavy, they fall to the ground. But we put ridiculous amounts of regulations on diesels. So now they have to have an entire separate fluid called DEF fluid, DEF, DEF fluid, that gets injected into. I'm not going to go get all detailed into it. It's made from urea, which means it's now astronomically expensive. And every modern diesel runs with this shit. Is necessary because we regulated this shit onto them. I guarantee you, some fucking lobbyist before this war broke out wanted to sell some more urea, and some Republican. Anyways, sorry. I'll focus. Focus, Paul. Focus. Yes, farmers are still facing a lot of expenses. The transportation costs are still going to be high because of this war, because nobody thought it out. Nobody had nothing but yes men. Hey, Campbell, thank you. Appreciate you. Skeet Sear, one of America's most embarrassing moments was when they held a hero because the cop refused to think he earned his stripes and colors. Victus Video, there are 3 things you don't mess with when it comes to our service people. 1, mail, 2, pay, and 3, food. So far, the administration is on track to do all 3. Yep. Crafty Ass Gardner, thank you for gifting the memberships. We're almost caught up. Chandra Patton, best leaders surround themselves with experts in needed areas. The idiots surround themselves with ego-fluffing yes people. Yep, that is true. Helen of Scots, thank you for gifting the membership. Thank you. Hey, Campbell, 5428. Hey, sorry I haven't said a super chat in a while. By the way, I hope Mrs. Texas Paul told you what I did when I went to vote. Walked into the library with my No Kings pen on while voting. It was funnier than hell. Yeah, she did. She showed it to me. Thanks, man. Sammy Joe, thank you. Thank y'all for speaking up, by the way. Thank y'all for speaking up. I mean, really, we got to do it, man. We got to do it. The media is not going to. We've got to do it. Skeet Sarah, USA has only won World War II. Anything after was not done for the right reason. They try to use propaganda to make their wickedness seem normal. E.T. Yesterday, Rick Wilson asked this about Operation Diaper Roll. Where was the football? Do they just think of the servicemen with the football a drone? Yeah. A lot of people are asking a lot of questions now. A lot of things aren't normal. Nancy, thank you. Sid Delanomac, ever watch British political sitcom? Yes, Minister. You might enjoy it, Paul. I do. I love British comedy. I love. If you haven't watched Peaky Blinders, great series. Any chance you get to watch British cinema or British shows, they tend to be top notch. They really do. Think about how much we all loved Benny Hill when we were young. Why the hell were we watching Benny Hill as kids? That shit was so raunchy. Why were we watching Benny Hill as kids? That shit was so raunchy, man. Canyon Diva, Donald J. Trump exposed constitutional deficiencies. Citizens recall federal officials would have removed him and his minions long ago. Yep. ET, yesterday I early voted in Central Florida's primary. Florida has closed primaries, but there were MPA races on the ballot, so no excuse to not vote. Quick poll, how many people here have or will be early voting? Sherry Ellison, as a former wildlife rehabber, I have a constellation of scars on my arms, neck, legs, and that's just the ones who liked me. I hear you. Jeff Schuler, logistics, win or lose war, more important than weapons. Yep, absolutely. Dime Brie Garage. Hey, Paul, you put the most insecure racist wannabe cop in the power. 1/6 actors with foreign actors equal non-law enforcement. Joes that are ICE must abolish, period. Yes. I do not think that you can rehab our current immigration department. I tell you, if I was president, I would end all of it and start from scratch. Just start from scratch. Just force Congress to absolutely end it all and totally rebuild from the ground up. We need a good functioning immigration system. And yes, we need immigration enforcement. We do. But it needs to be functioning. It needs to serve a purpose. It needs to adhere to that purpose. Debbie Subauer, good to see you. Can use all that steak and lobster to clean the mold. Just a couple more comments and we'll be caught up. Emery Artis, good to see you. Drunk Hegseth needs to resign or be impeached when Dems take back the House. Of all the people who needs to go in this administration, he's the top person on that list. Can you imagine? I want you to take a second and I want you to think about what those hearings will be like if we do our job and we take both the House and the Senate. Think about that, folks. Steve Pift, the suckers and losers in the fleet are the ones who voted for Trump in 2024. Yep. Josh Jameson, thank you for being here, sir. Hey, Paul, quick clarification. Steam catapults were invented in the 40s, but put into use in the ships in the 1950s. Were they? I thought that was a little bit older technology than that, but yeah, I believe you, man. Y'all people are dead on with your information 99% of the time. Skeets here. Grant was my ISU assignment in grade 12 American history in Canada. I respected him by studying him. E.T. just call them klepto bullies. Yep. Weird Idaho liberal. The loser and sucker is the one who turned the White House into a junkyard, not our soldiers. Amen. Miguel Larson tells us, was Rommel any good? Ooh, that's another one that just pisses me the fuck off. Just people talk about Rommel like he is the desert fox, some cheat. What did he do? What did he ever do? He failed in Europe. He failed in North Africa. This whole bullshit. I mean, we've got like this whole crop of historians that just sell bullshit. You know, Robert E. Lee won 2 key battles. Let's go back to Robert E. Lee for a second because it's a parallel to Rommel. 2 key battles, both of which were on his home ground. I want you to imagine you're an army. You're in Virginia. I'm talking forest, man. Forest. If you've ever, have y'all ever walked through a forest? I live in a forest. Have you ever walked through a forest? Imagine fighting through a forest. Read about accounts from the Argonne and you know, I mean, it is hell. War in a forest is hell. Plus, the weapons at the time belched so much smoke. It wasn't just a fog, it was just an impermeable smoke. As the advancing army, you're attacking a dug in, sitting still, aiming enemy. And you, to advance, must leave cover and walk forward. In a battlefield covered in smoke, you cannot see that you're coming up on an enemy line. That is the battle that Lee won. Basically, they just had to sit their ass still and shoot at them at the advancing Northern Army. That's not fucking genius. Rommel was the same way. His victories in North Africa were over an enemy that did not have supplies, did not have logistics, that were outmatched in every way, both materially, equipment wise. Just every bit of it. The Germans had air cover. I mean, how could he lose? You could put any fucking moron in charge of that force and they wouldn't lose. As soon as the English got supplied, as soon as the Americans entered the fight, all of a sudden, Rommel's losing. He's losing. Yet history wants to call him this great thing, and they make movies about it. It drives me up the fucking wall. It does. It just drives me up the wall. And then to show you what he was like at the end of the war, he turns traitor. Hops in an airplane. They bust him with a coat with cash sewn inside it, trying to escape. Yeah. What a leader. Skeet Sayre, the effects of World War II is the whole diesel argument. The ME-109 was diesel, and as a result, not fly well upside down. The self-sealing fuel tanks that we developed and the inverted flight tanks were total game changers. Glenn Canico, thank you for gifting the memberships. George Lynon Weber, thank you for gifting the memberships. Y'all are so generous to people. Folks, just make sure that you can receive gifts, your settings are, and YouTube will give you one of these memberships. Kennigan, Donald J. Trump ordered to cripple the U.S. Sadly, people only know. Only now know. Gail Brownell, flock cameras is becoming a campaign issue in South Dakota. Yeah, that is something else too. The same people, we can't register our guns because it's a slippery slope. But let's put cameras every fucking where, tracking everything with no oversight. The abuses have been horrendous, just horrendous, because there's no oversight whatsoever. You know, I know there are arguments to be made that surveillance, when used properly, actually is a good tool. It really is. And I know I'm going to take a lot of shit for saying that, but it really is. But there has to be oversight. There has to be oversight. And the people that have these tools have to be good and decent people. Sherry Ellison, use the excess military budget to guard a good border policy and give people a way to become citizens. I agree with you 100%. Katie Mullins, I truly appreciate your efforts to share your knowledge. Dogs are pack animals. You are now your puppy's pack. Welcome to co-sleeping. Daryl Curson, thank you for supporting the show. Tony Velez, thank you for supporting the show, Tony. I appreciate you. Tiger Butterfly, good to see you. I have veterans and others making fun of the issues on the ships, claiming that it's either fake or that they need to suck it up because they went 8 days in a tank on PBJ and crackers in bags in 100 degree heat. None of it is okay. No, it's not okay. And it isn't 8 days. This has been going on for months and months and months. Veggie Owl Girl, if I remember correctly, Rommel was one of the conspirators to unalive the guy with the funny mustache. Yep. Skeet Sayre, the Civil War truth is that the South was winning until the slaves were freed and overwhelmed the South in 2 years. The South were never going to win that war. Never. They were trying to do the same thing. The Japanese actually studied that. The Japanese did this with Russia in the Sino-Russo War. Punch your enemy in the face, hit them hard, hit them fast, make them capitulate. If you don't have the logistics to fight, and the South did not, they didn't have the means to manufacture arms. They didn't have the means to support their troops. They just didn't. They were going to lose. If this war didn't end almost immediately, they were going to lose. Period. Full stop. Connie Leiden, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And you know what? Oh God, I'm having a brain lock. Y'all help me. Y'all know who it is. It was McClellan. McClellan was relieved and replaced by Grant. That was his plan. That's why he was so complacent. That's why he wasn't aggressive at all. He was like, they can't fight with us. Logistically, they cannot last. We don't have to be aggressive. We don't have to take losses. We don't have to, because they cannot compete with us. He did not understand the logistics, the political logistics behind it. That's why Lincoln was like, no, fucker, we don't have time for that. We've got to get this over with, or Congress is going to make me end this war. Get off your ass. That was McClellan, right? I'm probably getting that wrong. My brain is not working right now. Connie Leiden, thank you. Thank you. Brad Michael, cat or dog training will vary. I think in about a month, you and Mrs. Paul should be fully trained. Yeah. Mrs. Texas Paul has made me swear to God that both Maya and I are going to go to obedience training, and I'm going to have a lot of fun with this dog. Catherine Ryan, thank you for being the best history teacher I've ever had. I received my RODD pins and the new coffee mug. Thank you, Mrs. Tex. But I appreciate you. I really do. All right, we're all caught up. Now, look, this next topic is a little touchy. It is hard. It is. But it is what it is. All right. All right. Nasheen Gilkar, that's her name, Nasheen Gilkar and Omar Ahmed wanted to have a baby. They live in California. They're a couple who live in California. And they tried and tried and tried and tried and couldn't. You've heard this story before. It's not original. Things like that happen. People want to have a family. And they just couldn't. So they turned to a surrogate. They used their egg and sperm to be, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. They tried and tried and had failed pregnancies and it didn't succeed. So they turned to a surrogate. Now, when you sign a contract with a surrogate, one of the things that the surrogates agree to is that you, as the biological parents, are the parents. She is a vessel for pay, gestating this child. But medical decisions, all decisions, this is your child, not hers. That's the way surrogacy works. It has to, or it can't function. The surrogate lived in Alaska. Yes, exactly. It is a womb for rent. That's what it is. That's what it is. That's what surrogacy is. And God bless these women that do this. I mean, God bless these women that do this. If you are a believer and you believe in God, and I know for somebody like me, that phrase doesn't have the same meaning. But you understand what I'm saying. Respect and admiration to surrogates that will do this for people. It's one of the greatest gifts you can give anyone. And I want you to keep in mind, this couple wanted a child. They wanted a child desperately. At 20 weeks, which is about the time it gets diagnosed, they found out that the fetus had HLHS. Layman's terms, left side of the heart didn't develop. The parents took it in, And they educated themselves about HLHS. And they saw what this meant for the child, should the child be born. And I want you to know as well. So I want you to know these are people who want this child. These are people that have tried desperately, that have financially put tons of money out to have a child. These are people that want a child. Now this fetus has HLHS. Now HLHS is not, it's horrible. It is. The left side of the heart doesn't develop. Now, we have become so skilled medically that an infant born with HLHS has about a 75% chance of surviving. But let's talk about surviving and what it means. For a child born with HLHS, they're facing at minimum 3 surgeries. Reality, if they live, the first one is an open heart surgery, and the other 2 are additional heart surgeries that don't require, and this is going to get a bit graphic, and I do apologize. They have to incise the infant from neck to the bottom of the rib cage. They have to open the rib cage for the first surgery, and it is an open heart surgery. It's called the Norwood procedure. It's done in the first week to 2 weeks when the child is stabilized. Because the heart will not beat proper, it will not circulate blood properly because one side of the heart didn't develop. You can imagine there are problems. So they surgically alter this heart, and they surgically alter the way the veins work so that it will survive. We are gifted as a species. There's a 75% survival rate on the first surgery, and the 2 subsequent surgeries, there's about a 95% survival rate. So you must understand this child is going to more than likely survive. Yeah, that is about as long as they live, best case scenario. But let's talk about what comes next. These 3 surgeries, there's the Norwood procedure, then there's a bidirectional shunt that they have to install, and about 4 to 6 months they have to have a second surgery, and in which case they redirect the vena cava, the major vein that's bringing depleted blood. They redirect it from the heart to where it flows directly to the lungs. They completely change the child's circulatory system. Again, the child will survive this more often than not. The word survive is carrying a lot of weight here. We're not talking about a normal life. We're not talking about normal activity. We're not talking about normal development. We're talking about it's alive. And you can imagine, just use your brain, the superior vena cava is no longer flowing to the heart. It is flowing to the lungs. We're completely changing the circulatory system in an incredibly inefficient manner, just so this child can survive. Then there's what they call the Fontan procedure, and it's performed at about 2 to 4 years of age, in which they modify things even farther. Then there will be additional surgeries later on where, because there are pacemakers involved. You have to understand, this is not a normal heart anymore. So the heartbeat has to be controlled. It's a lot. It's a lot. Then, 14, 15, 16 years old, when you're worried about getting your driver's license and, are you going to play football? That's when organ failure sets in for these children because there isn't sufficient blood flow. Other organs and systems don't develop properly. And organs begin to fail. Kidneys, liver, etc., begin to fail. There are all the health complications that entails. Additional surgeries. That's where that happens. In a child, it is incredibly difficult to do. That usually happens around 15 or 16 years old because that is when the modified heart will typically fail. 14 to 16 years old. That's where we're going with this. Then, when you're worried about dating and, going to prom and all the other shit, this family and this child are desperately trying to find a heart because they're going to need a heart transplant. Medically, they're so good, they can keep these children alive. Best case scenario, 30s. The longest anybody's ever lived with HLHS is in the early 40s. And it is not a great life. It isn't. But it is life. It is life. Now, Sheen Gilkar and Omar Ahmed listened to their doctors, what all this was going to entail. They're paying for this, by the way. They're the biological parents. They have medical control of what's going on. They listened to their doctors and they decided this is not the life we want for our child. This is not the life we want. This is not what we were looking for when we were looking for a child. So they instructed the surrogate mother to terminate the pregnancy at 20 weeks. That's when Ken Paxton gets involved. The surrogate lived in Alaska. I'm going to say some things here that are assumptions because I do not know this woman, but I know the movement. I know the tactics. For instance, if you just try to Google, what does a 20-week-old fetus look like? Good luck. You will be shown everything on Google, but what a 20-week-old fetus looks like. You'll be shown fetuses that have lived outside the womb for months and have been given UV treatments, and your skin isn't even the fetus's skin isn't even fully formed. There, it's clear at this point. It's covered in hair completely. It's a protective measure during development, and it's also covered in kind of like a cheesy. You will not find images of what a 20-week fetus looks like because the anti-abortion movement has flooded Google with images that aren't there. I've seen pamphlets from these people where they show a child at, supposed to be 20 weeks, and the child, its head would be where the mother's heart is, and the child's legs protrude down into the mother's legs. They intentionally distort the reality of what it is. I hate the pro-life movement. They are liars. They are deceivers. They do not tell people facts and truth. to allow decisions to be made. And they also love political theater. And this is where I'm going to say, I don't know the surrogate mother and I don't know her motivations, but she left Alaska and came to Texas. I suspect that is because a great deal of these anti-abortion groups are here. This is where the money is. Now, I do know this, that people involved in the anti-abortion movement, they want to be heroes more than anything. They want to be victims and heroes. And that is what this surrogate is portraying herself as. She is the hero of this child. She refused to have an abortion. She's the savior. She is not this child's biological parent. When she decided to go from Alaska to Texas and informed the biological parents that she would not terminate the pregnancy, the parents they said, okay, this is it. This is our child. This is what life has given us. Okay, we got this. Well, that doesn't really play well for the drama. It doesn't. So this surrogate is portraying, she is saying, and you've got a she said, they said situation where they're saying it in court under penalty of perjury, and she's saying it to right-wing news media. Judge that where you will. She's saying they tried to force me to have an abortion when I didn't want to. They're saying we asked her to terminate the pregnancy. When she took this extreme step and we realized, okay, this child's going to be born, this is it. This is our child. Okay, this is happening. Ken Paxton, wanting the political theater on behalf of the state of Texas, interfered in the situation. Now, this surrogate mother has invented a name for this child. The child's name is actually Remy, R-E-M-I, Remy. She calls it Gabriel. She has no naming rights for this child. It is not her biological child. The parents have named the child Remy. The parents are paying the hospital bills because Ken Paxton unnecessarily engaged in political theater and said, this child will be born and you will be financially responsible for it, talking to the biological parents. Well, the biological parents had already arranged with the hospital. They're on the hook for these bills. But Ken Paxton and Mama are talking to every one of these anti-abortion groups for the theater. Now, the parents have had to file an injunction against the mother because the mother keeps, the child has been born in Dallas 3 days ago. It was born in Dallas. The mother keeps trying to interfere. The surrogate keeps trying to interfere. She is not the biological mother of this child. The parents are in Dallas taking care of their child. They're the ones legally making the medical decisions for this child. The surrogate keeps trying to interject herself into that situation. Ken Paxton is doing press interviews where he refers to this child as Gabriel, not Remy, which is the child's name. Gabriel. This is why I try to urge people. The right loves simple talking points. And they are repeating over and over again, these people tried to murder Gabriel. They tried to force her to murder Gabriel. This poor woman just wants her child. Not her child. The parents say that is absolutely not true. Now, this is why you have every reason to be involved in this conversation. And I will tell you, my point of view on this is the surrogate needs to mind her business now. That womb is no longer involved. Go away. But you don't get attention in that situation. And Ken Paxton's still trying to be the hero savior of Gabriel when that's not necessary. The surrogate parents are working with the hospital to get Remy the best medical care this child can get. But this is why you are involved. This is why you are involved. The number of surgeries that are required, the amount of health care and home care and everything that Remy is going to require now will exceed the lifetime limits of any health insurance policy the parents have. The parents will not, unless they're billionaires, in which case there's no indication that they are, will not have the resources to buy another policy because of Remy's existence. They won't be able to afford to replace their coverage once it's maxed out. That means you and I are fitting these bills. After about the first, most policies have like $1 million cutoff. Some are a little more, some are a little less. But after they hit that cutoff, we're it. That surrogate made the decision that she was not contractually or really morally even allowed to make, because this is not her infant, her fetus. She is not biologically related to Remy. Ken Paxton, who is so immoral and corrupt, at 60 years old, he cheated on his wife and destroyed his family. Still continues to have relations with a married woman to this day. Is pretending to be a moral savior and a hero here. The surrogate, McKenna West, continues to do press. You will not find images of the parents because they are incredibly angry that this has all become an anti-abortion cause celeb. They just want to raise their baby as best they can in the short amount of time that they're going to be able to. They're not looking for spotlight. But Ken Paxton continues to talk about baby Gabriel. So this is where we get to the roundtable part of the discussion. Was the surrogate right in what she did? The child will survive. I mean, there was always at least a 70 to 75% chance of survival. but you understand now what survival looks like. I mean, do surrogates have any say? I mean, contractually they don't, but morally, do the surrogates have any say? I'm going to ask a few questions and I'm going to let chat run for a little bit because this is a roundtable. I want to see. Most people are saying no, no, no. It was not her decision to make. That seems to be the general consensus. That's where I came down to. Is she really stepped over the line? She is not a hero in my book. In my personal opinion, she is not a hero. All right. Well, here's where it gets complicated. She and Ken Paxton and the state of Texas all stuck their big nose into this and made decisions for people. They made decisions for those parents, financial decisions for those parents. Those parents will be financially ruined by these decisions. Should those parents sue the surrogate? Should those parents sue Ken Paxton? Do the surrogate and do Ken Paxton have any financial liability in this? I know Ken Paxton, as the Attorney General, is exempt, but should he be? See, here's the problem, folks. I mean, this isn't going to be discussed anywhere else but here at this length. It is not going to do. Look, let me show you the kind of, when I say there's deception. This is what you will see if you Google 20-week-old fetus. You will not see what an actual 20-week-old fetus looks like. You'll see cartoons, you'll see drawings, you'll see everything but what an actual 20-week-old fetus with clear skin, because it has no fat built up and it hasn't developed all of its skin layers at 20 weeks. So you see the muscle tissue, they're clear at 20 weeks. You'll see them portrayed as very large. You'll see pictures of them long after they're stabilized and they're in cute little outfits like this one over here. But you will not see an actual fresh 20-week-old fetus anywhere on Google. There you go. You'll see a picture like this, but that child has been stabilized. That child, this is weeks after birth. This is not what a 20-week-old looks like in the womb. It isn't. This is after they do a treatment. I said a UV treatment. Somebody with some medical expertise, correct me there. On a fetus that is born that preemie, they have to expose them to light to make the skin continue to develop. I guess that's the part that angers me the most is, you know, I think if people have real information, they can make decisions, but you're not allowed to. People that want to influence what you're thinking and feeling and your emotions will tell you things that are not factual to manipulate you, not give you the information. I am not bullshitting you. We have the medical technology that a child born this way, not a fetus, I'm talking about a child that is born this way, we can keep them alive. Now, what that life looks like is nothing you'll ever be told, but we can keep them alive. Doctors are that damn good. And that's a great question. I don't know if it's hereditary or if it's just a developmental issue. I don't know. That's a great question. That's a great question. But yeah, the life will be misery. Now, when I say that, you'll get an anti-abortion activist that will find some child somewhere that's in their 20s that have had the heart transplant that are damn glad to be alive. As well they should be. And they should be loved and they should be cared for. But that's not what we're talking about. It's again another distortion of the reality that you need the information you need to make a decision. I guess where I'm going with this is I'm really sick and tired of people so immoral, so obviously flawed, like Ken Paxton or Donald Trump, or being foisted up as though they're moral leaders. They're disgusting. They're despicable people. I will tell you this. What doesn't happen is these anti-abortion people don't adopt HLHS children. They don't. That's not a thing. Because it is financially ending. It is financially ending. Now, I just want to drive that point home. Heart attacks are financially crippling for people. You've heard of this. You know people that have had a heart attack. It's common. It's pretty damn common. And you know how financially devastating, or cancer is financially devastating. It is. Now, imagine HLHS, which requires a minimum of 3 heart surgeries. That's at bare minimum. You're also talking about, again, you're talking about pacemaker care, you're talking about your pacemaker replacement, you're talking about other organ failure will happen. So there will be additional surgeries unrelated to the heart. There will be additional medical care. HLHS is a financial death sentence for the family. You will not get a single anti-abortion advocate adopting an HLHS child. Ever. And that, Some people, they'll say that doesn't make a difference, but to me, it does. Can you tell me where you folks are on this now that we've got all the information, now that it's all out there? We know where everybody's going. This isn't done in the courts, by the way, folks. The parents have had to file and get an injunction against the surrogate because she is still out there doing interviews. She is still trying to keep her 15 minutes. She is still trying to be the darling of the anti-abortion movement. I would love to see the financial disclosures on that. Who paid for her existence down here in Texas? Who paid for her living down here in Texas? How much are they paying her to be this story? I would love to have those financial disclosures. This isn't over. This isn't over. These groups are going to harass these parents to try to keep this story alive for the midterms. They think that this is going to be a great October surprise. They think that this is going to be a something that helps them in the midterms. Yeah. This isn't going away. This isn't going away. So what do you folks think? Where are y'all at on this? There you go. Evangelical warfare. Well said, Carl. I don't know if he can. He's in the middle of an ugly divorce right now. I don't know if he can. It's a good question. Great question. Now, I would not advise James Talarico to get in the middle of this. I just wouldn't. Because what you're going to hear, what everybody else is going to be exposed to is not the conversation you and I just had. They're not going to be told what HLHS is. They're not going to be told what it means for the fetus. They're not going to be told what it looks like. They're not going to be told none of it. None of it. All they're going to hear is what the surrogate and the anti-abortion movement and Ken Paxton have been saying to the press, and the media is more than willing to publish this, even though they know every bit as much as I do and more. They have medical experts on staff. All the people are going to hear is these parents wanted to kill this baby. Now they want the baby. And that is not accurate. That is not accurate. They made an agonizing decision wanting this child, wanting it. They went to, think about everything they had to go through before they got to this in vitro fertilization in the surrogate. Think about how much they had to invest, how badly they wanted a family. None of that will be discussed because it's not clickbait. It's not clickbait. Skeet says, this has been a great church sermon. Do you feel God like I do? Yes, it is the warmth, not the liquor. Oh, y'all kill me. Rena Scott, we have the best military in the world. They didn't lose the Trump-Iran war. He did. I believe in our sailors, Marines, pilots, and their families on those carriers. Yep. You got to think about that, man. Our soldiers and sailors are toughing it out, man, to the tune of tens of thousands of them. Gail Brownell would love a collab with Heather Cox Richardson. I hear you. I hear you. Cafty Ash Gardner, practically all late term abortions are done by heartbroken people who wanted that baby more than anything. But doctors tested and found out that the development was off. And if born, they'd struggle and suffer and possibly never be well. Yeah, that is a fact. That is a fact. That's just what enrages me so much is that you'll have these people that are fucking idiots that just want to be heroes. That's it. That's all they want. That's all that matters. Am I a hero? Yes, I feel like a hero. I do. Meanwhile, you have people, real people that desperately wanted this child, making the most agonizing decisions. Not at all. Musk and Trump are becoming friends again, so I'm starting to get nervous about that election in November. A lot of money for that. I'm telling you, folks, I'm telling you, I will tell you one more time. I will tell you one more time. One more time. The number one way they're going to cheat, it isn't hanky stuff. It isn't, because they can get caught for that. They can go to prison for that. That has tons and tons of risks. They can cheat legally in the open, in broad daylight, and the media will not call it cheating. It's really simple. You make that ballot as long as possible so that it takes a long time for each voter to get through each ballot. You have just slowed the voting process. You have just reduced the number of voters by doing that one thing. And what do we always say? The more people that vote, the more Democrats win. The less people that vote, the Republicans win. Really simple. Make that ballot as long and complicated as possible. Slow the flow through each voting machine. Then you limit the number of voting machines in Democratic districts. It's that simple. That will be the number one way they cheat. Not hacking, not all of this, scary stories that you're going to read on social media. That simple thing. Then they will engage in caging, and they will make it to where when you show up to vote, you don't even get to vote because you've been kicked off the voter registration rolls. They do those three things, they win. Unless we get people to get involved with the Democratic Party on the local level. Why the local level? Why does it matter at the local level? Because those ballot initiatives and all that other stuff that they cram into those ballots to slow down voting, your local party will know what each of those initiatives are, and they will print a primer for you. They'll do the work. They'll tell you, hey, vote on this way because this is what we believe, and this is where we stand. And that will increase the efficiency. That will make it to where you've got a primer in your hands. This person, this person, this person, this person. That in turn increases the number of people that can vote per machine. The second thing is that if you'll volunteer, they tried to make it illegal to give people standing in line water. If that is not testimony to what I'm telling you, doesn't open your eyes to the blatant cheating, they tried to make it to where you could not give a person standing in line water. Folks, an election in Texas in November can be 90 degrees. It can. It can. The other thing that they try to do is when the polls close, you can't get out of line. If you're in line, you get to vote. But if you got to pee and you get out of that line, they will have a cop there to make sure you cannot get back in line. Those are the ways they will cheat in broad daylight, out in the open. How do you defeat it? Organization, involvement, get involved with your party at the local level, pre-plan, help people. That's how you do it. That's how you, it's that simple. It's really that simple. You know, people talk about the hacking and all the other stuff. I'm really afraid. Don't be afraid of that stuff. Don't. The Democratic Party has forensic experts. They will go after that shit. They will. Now there'll be some guy on YouTube that wants to make money off of people that'll sell that. Oh, the Democrats did nothing. No, the Democrats aren't in the losing election business. They're not. They do not just let this shit fly. Don't worry about the stuff that you cannot control. Worry about what you can control, and we will win. We will win if we do that. Grant is my great, great, great cousin. That's cool. That is cool. Nancy, I was born with congenital heart defects. I had open heart surgery at 10 years old. Although the surgery was successful, I have had a lifetime of issues. Thank you for sharing that, Nancy. Thank you. I appreciate it. Glenn Kaneko, this sounds more like a medical experiment. No, they really have got this down to a finite. I'm telling you, doctors are impressive. They really are. The things that they can do is amazing. Donna DeJoya, no-win situation, and then that shit Paxton makes it political. Pro-lifers only care about the kid before it is born. After that, they don't care. Amen. Amen. I call them anti-abortion, not pro-life. This whole situation is effed up. Yep. Silly Bebo, I despise Ken Paxton with my whole heart for a multitude of reasons, but this sure tops the craptacular cake. Steve Pift, how many women died thanks to Texas anti-abortion laws? You won't know till the Democrats take power because the Republicans will conceal it. Skeet Sayre, he spent the 4th of July in England. Why do we still think he's American? Yep, sure did. Nancy, thank you. You are so right. I wasn't able to get health insurance until the ACA. Yep. That is the future for this family. It is financial ruin. They are financially ruined. They are. Even if they're not today, they will be very soon. Linda Orndorff, the parents should sue Paxton and the surrogate. Yep. I agree. Heidi Gordon, Paxton needs something to campaign on. He's over his skis in this race, won't even campaign. Yep. That they are desperately grasping for anything to try to make their bigot people angry. New West Bill, I would withhold any outstanding payments to her. She is in breach of contract. This is a civil matter. No government entity has any business here. Yep. Raina BB, thank you. Thank you for being a member. William, will the pro-life people, the anti-abortion people, be there with help with the medical bills? No, they will not. No, they will not. Yeah, but they don't care after the baby's born. The baby can die after it's born. They don't care. My grandson was born 33 weeks, 3 pounds, 13 ounces. It is a lot. It is amazing what these hospitals can do. Martha Moser, thank you for being here. Thank you. Lonnie Johnson, thank you. Diane Breed Garage. Paul, I learned from a very religious mom that you have to be realistic. Do not bring a child into this world to suffer. She knows from experience. There are so many tragedies surrounding this. That's why I hate that the I hate Republicans for making this a political divisive issue. Because there's so much pain involved in it. Silly Bebo, I'm wondering if Ken Paxton is financially helping the surrogate. Good question. George Lyndon Weber, Dim's going to win in Texas. They're going to whip them. You know what? We have produced so many great candidates. I mean, nationwide, not just in Texas. The Democrats are doing it, man. They are doing the work. ET, the thing to ask is, how do we message this so that sits with your drunk uncle, ask Uncle Cletus? That's the problem. How do you take what I just told you and can it down? The best you can do is say, she's not the mom. She's not the mom. There's no, it's how do you message this so that it pisses off our base in a short talking point? You can't. It's difficult. Well, somebody more gifted than me might be able to. Chandra Patton, don't hear about any of these idiots fundraising for the care of the baby. Can the parents sue the surrogate for breach of contract? She's a nurse. She's a nurse. That is something that's been eye-opening to me, is how many people within our healthcare system are these fucked up right-wingers. Years ago, I got an infection. It was before COVID that caused me to have pericarditis. Nothing to do with my heart. My heart is great. Believe me, I've had it run through and looked at. I got the heart of a teenager. I've never smoked. I've never been a heavy drinker, anything like that. I've taken care of it. My ticker's in great shape. Don't worry. But I got pericarditis from an infection, which means the sac around my heart swole up. It was incredibly painful. Squeezed my heart. I knew it. The way I found out I had it was I tried to walk from my office to the other side of the house. And by the time I got halfway across the house, I collapsed. I knew I was in trouble. I thought I was having a heart attack and dying is what I thought. So got that cleared up. I was put on bed rest for a month. I had to stay in a bed because too much activity in my heart. It was rubbing up against the pericardium. It could cause complications. I literally had to sit in a bed for a month taking these massive diuretics so that I could just get the fluid off my heart. Problem solved, right? Problem solved. And that's a minor issue. It really was minor compared to what we're talking about here. You're never going to see these people. You're never going to see these people be there for this child in the years and years of surgeries and pain. They're not going to so much as bring this family a plate of cookies, but they feel morally able to make these decisions for this family. They're sick and they're broken people. ET, I had a primer and only had to look up 4 races. There you go. Deborah Emery, this is hard to hear. This is a hard to hear show. Thank you, Tex, but I appreciate y'all. Jenny, the real parents tried to prevent a lifetime of suffering. They were overruled. Now have accepted responsibility for raising the child. The villains here are Paxton and the surrogate. Yep. Alan Thompson, Texas Paul, what's in the water in Texas? Abbott, Patrick, Howden, Paxton, Cornyn, terrible men, terrible human beings. Vote early. Remember Trump said Elon really knows those machines. I'm telling you, folks, we've got to accept we are surrounded by a lot of very bad people. That's how this happens in Texas. People so full of hate. They care more about bigotry and they're so weak and small. They want to be heroes by doing nothing but making ugly statements online. That's who we are as a species. That's who we are. Silverwolf, thanks for all you have done. No, I appreciate you. I cannot do it without you. We are a team. Q Wilson, gifted one text. Thank you for gifting the membership. ET, let her raise that kid. Then no, 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 no. I will tell you, I'm going to say it again. I don't know this woman. This is just a supposition. But if my instincts are right, she has 2 other children, and I don't know if she should be raising them. Folks, she has 2 other children of her own. Yeah, I do not, again, I don't know her. I don't know for sure. I don't know what's in her heart, but I do know what I suspect. And I do know what this kind of behavior is a red flag indicator of. ET, messaging people affordability instead of culture wars, Citizens United instead of APAC. Are you ready to get involved? When we do the work, it gets done. Kyra loves Michael. Thank you for being here, Kyra, all the time. I really appreciate you. Gail Brownell, I work at a hospital. Doctor's Lounge always has Fox on. Yeah, where I was going with that, I got sidetracked. When I had the pericarditis, thank you for reminding me. I lost track of where I was going with this. I had to do a follow-up. Like I said, they went through my heart. Yeah, man, I'm telling you, for several months afterwards, I mean, I had all kinds of scans, and they, and had to do annual visits for a while just to make sure I was, and I'm tip top, man. I really am. And I know because I did all of them. Believe me, that's an ugly feeling. Anybody that's had a heart attack will tell you, you know what dying feels like. It's an ugly feeling. When I was sitting there in the middle of my house, I really thought, okay, this is a major heart attack. This is it. It is an ugly feeling. My number one priority was to I was losing consciousness. Kept kind of slipping in and out. And my number one priority was I kept telling my wife I loved her. So I'm doing the follow-ups. And this nurse, this is now during COVID, right? So I'm having to take all these precautions. This is now during COVID. This nurse at my cardiologist, I pulled my cardiologist in and I said, we've got to talk about this. She's preaching anti-vax shit in your office. And he's like, I know. And I don't know what to do about it. If I fire her, she'll sue me. I've talked to the hospital about it. We're trying to figure out what to do about it. This nurse was volunteering. I mean, I crawl off the table. I finish my scan. She's walking me out preaching anti-vax bullshit during COVID. I had no idea there were so many people in the healthcare industry that were that insane. So yeah, I get it, Gail. I get it. I get what you're talking about. Weird Idaho Liberal, they are not pro-life. They are a death cult. I agree with you. Dragon Rider, thanks for gifting the memberships. Sorry for getting emotional, folks. I apologize. ET, it is less than 12 weeks until the general election. Verify your voter registration and deadline dates. Know your early voting dates. Get involved. Linda Orndorff, can you imagine how many others want to be parents will not consider surrogates now? Yeah. This is the kind of thing. It's horrible. Horrible what this surrogate has done. Sheila GW, they are trying to have crewmen sign NDAs. I hear you. They don't have to. They can simply order them. George Leinenweber, thank you. I appreciate it. Nancy, I love you too. I do. I love you too. I love you too. Well, folks, I know it was a bit of a long show today. This is what I've got for you. This is what I've had for you. I hope it's been useful. I hope gives you food for thought. Again, I want you to be aware this is coming. They have been unable to find. We're going to talk about Abdul El Sayed on Wednesday. You're not going to believe the shit they're saying about him. They're desperate. They're throwing anything at the wall. Anything. I'll give you a little teaser about that. He ran Detroit's health system. Underneath the health system is and this is near and dear to me and Maya. That means that he was in charge of the shelters. It was a subsection of what he ran. He didn't run them directly, but it was a subsection, and they were kill shelters. Look, I'm going to tell you, your local town's shelter is a kill shelter. If it is run by the town, it is a kill shelter. They all are. They all are. They're literally trying to run on social media on pretend left-wing accounts that Abdul El Sayed killed puppies and kittens. Yeah. No shit. Really. And they're also going after his family. They're going after his family. He's got a sister that... Do you have a relative that you would really not like to be judged by? Well, he's got a sister that's pretty radical. So, they're trying to scare the bigots because his sister is pretty out there. She is. She is on the extreme end. But one of the things that they're trying to go after his sister about is that she spit on a cop at an ICE protest. And I'm like, don't threaten me with a good time. I don't think this is going to work the way you think it's going to work. But the bots, this is the last thing I'm going to talk about. The bots have come out in extreme amounts. Extreme amounts. My Facebook feed is full of no follower accounts posting right-wing propaganda bullshit. It just keeps flowing. And because they are paid for bots by the right wing, they pay Meta to elevate these posts. So no, it's not your imagination. On whatever social media platform you're on, you are suddenly getting inundated with right-wing propaganda bullshit, and they are bots. They are not real people. There are many non-kill shelters, Robin. There are. They are typically, overwhelmingly, not run by the city or the county they are usually a private entity. They're or some sort of partnership. Every major city, their shelters are kill shelters. They are. It just is what it is. There's just too many animals and not enough people to adopt them. It is a problem. It is a problem. Watch out for the bots. Watch out for the bots. They're going crazy. Look, I'm gonna cut you loose. It's been 2.5 hours. Thank you, folks. Thank you for all your time. Thank you for all the support. Oh, I do have to say one more thing. With the bots come the grifters. Please, people, I will not email you and ask you to talk to me on Telegram. I will not send you a phone number and text with you. I've had somebody reach out furious because you're a con artist. I can't believe that I supported you and this, and I'm like, what are you talking about, lady? I thought she was one of you folks for a second. I'm like, I'm sorry. What did I do wrong? And I said, no, she has been talking to somebody that's using my face. They download my videos. They create a bogus social media account. They contact this woman. She thinks she's in a relationship with me. And this person pretending to be me, who she's never met, she's sending the money. Come on. This is it. This is how you support me. The mugs. I sell the mugs. That's it. That's what I do. I will not email you and say, will you please send me some money? That will not happen ever. If there are several generous people that outside that do directly support me, but I have never reached out to them and never will. I am not on Telegram, and it's not just me, folks. Brando's having this problem. Aaron Parnez is having this problem. Everybody, just folks, if you want to support somebody that's working hard and doing a good job and doing a good service, do it through something like this. Just don't fall for the, hey, if it's a Proton Mail email address, red flags. If it's Telegram, red flags. Okay? Be careful. Love you, folks. Enjoy some Texas cities at night.